Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today I received a very important email from a brother asking for some advice. Basically, he was explaining that he goes to public school, and recently there were some females that wanted him to go to prom with them. The school, apparently, they wanted him to run for prom king, and he had all this pressure on him to do these things that he knows in his heart isn't proper according to Islam. And even though he tried to avoid these things, the people were insistent. It's like they weren't taking no for an answer. So his question was, how can I be confident in my religion? Where can I find the type of confidence that's necessary to deal with these sorts of situations? Because he believes in Allah and he believes in his messenger, and obviously the fact that this even bothers him in the first place, he wants to do the right thing. He wants to implement Islam. But subhanAllah, some situations it requires courage, it requires a lot of confidence. So he was basically asking for advice. Where can I get this confidence from? Now subhanAllah, the first thing I want to point out, which is obvious, is you shouldn't send your kids to public school. This is just a perfect example of that. Now I made another video about that, but I can't help but mention that in this video. Next, I'd just like to say, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor, but alhamdulillah, I'm 30 years old. I have quite a bit of life experience regarding this sort of thing. I've been through many phases in my life, so I'm going to do my best to just give some advice based on my life experience. Now, first and foremost, we have to understand that success comes from Allah. If you find yourself implementing Islam properly with confidence, with assurance, then this can only happen if Allah guides you. So we should always understand that and make dua to Allah, ask Allah to give us strength, to give us guidance, to make us firm on His religion. Now beyond that, I would say that there are basically three things that can help build your confidence. Number one is repetition. Take, for example, people who are great at public speaking. Now they might be able to stand in front of thousands and thousands of people with confidence. But how many of them, the first time they stood in front of an audience, even if it was small, they were nervous, they were looking at the floor, they were stuttering, they forgot what they were supposed to say? This is a very common thing you'll hear from people who are public speakers. It took a lot of time, a lot of practice for them to be confident in front of a crowd. And this sort of thing extends beyond just public speaking, but also when it comes to your religion. Maybe it's the first time you want to wear your hijab. Maybe it's the first time you want to implement certain aspects of your deen. You want to pray outside. You want to give da'wah. The first time you might be nervous, but inshallah after you do it once, twice, 5, 10, 100, 1,000 times, inshallah it's going to be easy. You're going to get that confidence. This is something that you've done before. So I would say that just understand that. Maybe it's difficult for you the first time, but inshallah it's not always going to be like that. So the sooner you start implementing your deen, the sooner it's going to become easy for you, inshallah, and the sooner you're going to build up your confidence. Secondly, I would say that confidence comes from knowing that you're doing the right thing, knowing that you're correct. For example, if you're taking a test, let's say it's a multiple choice test. You're looking at the test, okay, is the answer A, B, or C? If you're not sure what the answer is, you're not going to have confidence. You're going to think, is it A or is it B? I think maybe it's B, but it could be A. But what if it's C? You're going to be confused. You're not going to be confident. You're not going to be sure. But if you're 100% sure of the answer, you're going to breeze through the test with confidence, with ease. So it's important to understand that Islam is the truth. It's correct. As long as you're implementing it properly, which takes knowledge, it does take a bit of studying to understand how you're supposed to act in certain situations. But once you've done that and you understand the truth, you have to have confidence that Islam is correct. So for example, this brother refusing to be involved with his prom, if you know that what you're doing is correct, then it doesn't matter if the whole rest of the world disagrees with you. You know that you're correct. You know that you're right and they're wrong. And this is something that's very important for Muslims to understand. Islam is the truth. It's from the Creator. It's from Allah, the All-Knowing. And I know from personal experience back when I was a non-Muslim, everything outside of Islam is just human conjecture. A lot of people, they just go along with the crowd, or they just sort of try to think to themselves as flawed human beings what's right and what's wrong. But Islam, this is the truth. This is the proper way to act. This is from Allah, the manager and sustainer, the creator of all that exists. And this is something that's extremely powerful, and it can really give you a lot of confidence and self-assurance if we really understand that, we really believe that. And lastly, I would say that confidence can come from knowing that what you're doing is significant, that what you're doing is important. Now, may Allah protect us from this, but for example, let's say that there was a situation where there was a small child that was in need of an ambulance. They needed medical assistance, and it was upon you to get help. Don't you think you would rise to the occasion and have enough confidence knowing that a small child's life is at stake to do whatever you had to do, to scream, to ask a stranger to use their phone, to yell help, to yell somebody call a doctor? Would you sit there and second guess and think, oh no, I'm kind of shy, I'm not really confident about this? No, because there's too much at stake in that moment. You know that what you're doing is not only correct, but it's going to have an influence of whether or not this child survives. So think about the effect that implementing your religion has. Number one, in the hereafter, you're going to stand in front of Allah. You're going to be held accountable for the things that you did in this life. And think about what's at stake. Depending on how you did in this life, you're either going to enter Jannah, you're going to enter paradise, or you're going to enter the hellfire. So your actions in this life, implementing Islam in this life, it's crucial, it's so important, it's of the utmost importance. But not only does your actions affect you, but it also affects others. So for example, this brother having the courage, having the confidence to explain to these people why he doesn't want to be involved in going to prom with them or being prom king, perhaps it will cause these people to think about Islam, to think about the truth, to think about their life. And perhaps Allah will guide them to Islam through this brother's decision. But regardless, inshallah, these people will now know how Muslims feel about this sort of thing, so that it will be easier for Muslims in the future. So perhaps there's another Muslim next year, and he's in the same situation. They'll already know. They'll already know how Muslims feel about this sort of thing, and it'll be easier for that brother to deal with this. Inshallah, they won't be as insistent. They'll be understanding. So just to summarize, number one, we have to understand that success comes from Allah. We have to make dua. We have to ask Allah to guide us and to grant us success. And aside from that, number one, confidence will come from repetition, inshallah. So even if you're nervous at first, understand that the hardest part is just doing it that first time. Inshallah, it's going to be easier the second, third, fourth, and before you know it, inshallah, it's not going to be a problem at all. Second, you have to understand that what you're doing is correct. The truth is on your side. This should give you an incredible amount of confidence. Allah is in control of everything. Nothing can happen unless Allah wills it to happen. So if you have Allah on your side, if you have the truth on your side, if you have the Lord of the worlds on your side, that should give you a great amount of confidence. And third, understand that your actions, they have a tremendous effect. Even if you might think it's insignificant, number one, it's going to have an effect on you in the hereafter. Number two, it can be a means of da'wah, of teaching other people about Islam and calling them to Islam. And third, it can make things easier for your Muslim brothers and sisters in the future, because now people, they're more aware of Islam and what it teaches. So may Allah grant us all confidence to implement His religion properly. May He make us firm in His religion. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.